Hello, friends. Hope your afternoon is going well. We are ready for some more FF1 here on SpeedGaming. It's FFSteve. It's Nashlax. LAX. Yeah, LAX. Hope everybody is doing well, and we're going to see these two off and going here in just a little bit. Chainsaws here. How are you doing?
Hey everybody, I'm doing pretty good. Glad to be here.
Alright, so we get to start this with an exciting, riveting, long cutscene, so it's a good chance to explain what all is going on. Shanesel, how would you explain the any percent run that we're doing today?
Well, for the most part, everybody has their own different strategies for this. But the main thing is we have a warrior here to carry us through the early game. Then the mid game we turn him into a statue. And he stays that way to just soak hits for the rest of the run. The monk is pretty weak in the early game, but we have him here because we want him for chaos, because he's our main damage dealer. And the black mages, well, they carry us through everything with their mass destruction. So in this version of the game, black mages have a lot of intelligence, and that affects their spells greatly. So they're able to just murder all enemies just instantly, which helps level us up and get us to the end of the game quickly. In this version of the game, it's
about something like double damage of what the red mages would do for the
oh
same
yes,
spell.
easily double damage. And in this version of the game, XP is a little harder to come by than in most other versions, because you don't have set trap tiles where you can just grind experience for like 5-10 minutes and be high level. So in this version, you have to just take every fight you see, or most every fight you see, to be at a decent level for the end game.
It's such a different animal for how we had to route the experience for this. Of course, you've done a ton of NES where the encounters are planned out to get the experience. Other versions like to farm, say, the Eye and Ice Cave for experience, and this version, about all we could do is just massacre everything.
Yep, and that's just what we do. Black mages are the best at that. You could use red mages instead, but red mages, you have to be very choosy on what you can nuke with them. They mostly are better for meleeing, and they have good armor for the early game. But they have the required buffs for the endgame fights, so you could still use them, it's just you'd have to use a different strategy to get through pretty much the entire game.
Alright, so we finish our 2-minute cutscene, and then we finally get control. The early purchases here, weapon for the fighter, thunder for the black mages. Basically, this is all to get through Garland and Pirates.
Yes, you want to get the rapier on the fighter, so he actually does damage. Because with the dagger, he just doesn't do anything. Now, he doesn't have 2 swings until you get him to level 4. So once you hit level 4, the fighter actually does pretty good DPS.
And then the game mandatory forces us to go talk to the king before we can just go fight Garland, unfortunately, because that would be nice.
So Steve here is putting on auto battle, or continuous auto battle. So in this game you can, there's auto battle, which speeds up combat. And putting on continuous auto battle speeds up your load screen transitions, for when the screen shatters and you go into battle. But you have to be very quick on canceling auto battle when you get into a fight, so you're not accidentally fleeing from an unrunnable encounter or casting the wrong spells on enemies. Some runners like to use it. I personally like it, but it does screw me over every once in a while.
Kinda comes with the territory of yielding to the computer. But there's things you can do, like turn it off right before the boss.
Most boss fights it turns off automatically.
Oh, that's even better.
But not all. You have to know which ones it doesn't turn off before. Like pirates, the monster in a box battles, any of the sprites that you talk to on the overworld, like the regular monster sprite. So like in Ice Cave up against the Undead Pack, and Sky Castle for the Blue Dragon.
Little difference for this Garland fight. Steve got the better experience along the way, so he's level 2 for the fight. Should have just a slightly faster one than Nash did, but also got into the fight later.
Yes, because Steve got 2 battles. You hope that you only get into 1 battle. 2 battles can really slow you down. And in these first couple levels, you really hope to get strong level ups on your mages. So in this version of the game, you have specific levels that you're guaranteed to get a bonus 20 to 25 HP. And the levels that you don't get that bonus, you have a 1 in 8 chance to get those. So you just have to get lucky to gain a bonus 20 to 25 HP on your level ups. And we'll probably see a pretty huge disparity in mage HP here in the next 10 minutes or so.
Pretty frequently see one of the black mages do well and the other not so much.
Yes, that is pretty common, and so we have to pick up the loot here. It's a key item that we need at the end of the game. It's not going to be helpful for a while, but we have to pick it up now. In this version of the game, you cannot miss it. Even if you try to leave the room, the princess will yell at you and give you the loot.
Kind of nice for a newer player, but, well, honestly, if we were speedrunning it, that would be a thing. We would totally get to the end of the game and have forgotten to pick up the loot.
I've heard of people doing that on the NES. I haven't done that yet, surprisingly, with all of my runs. I've never once forgotten the loot, but it's possible to happen.
I mean, if you've ever gotten loot, but there's a chance that eventually you'll get looted.
And so, the beginning of the game here, there are 3 long cutscenes that we have to sit through. Steve is on the bridge, building the bridge right now, then we get to walk onto the bridge for the final one. The one on the bridge is quite long.
Yeah, it feels the longest of the 3, even though I'm pretty sure the first one is longer.
The first one is the longest. It is
but
a
you're
minute.
ready to go. It's like, let's go, and then you get stopped by this.
Yeah, the first one is about 2 minutes long. I think it's 1:58. The walking over the bridge is about 1:45, and building a bridge I think is 1:15. But after these 3 cutscenes are out of the way, then we're in the clear for quite a while.
There'll be little scenes, but none of them are nearly as consuming as these are. In a couple of notes, we'll skip class change in this run. Some runs will do it, others won't, but we don't have much need for it. That's part of the Black Belt's charm, is that you don't have to worry about class change. It doesn't help anything.
Yes, if you're using a fighter or a thief as your main damage dealer, you probably want class damage. It'll make them a lot more powerful for chaos. The fighter can even survive getting punched in the face a few times. And he can do a lot of damage with barely having the buff. With that said, it's half as much damage as Black Belt, which is why we use them up. So I'll probably say lots of NES references for names of things, because that's what I've played the most of, but I'll do my best to try to have Pixel Remaster names for things. And in this little walk to Provoca, we are hoping to see single ogres or lizards. Lizards are okay, but they're nowhere near as good as the ogres.
I usually like to throw down a quick save after the bridge scene, just to be absolutely sure that no matter how horrible things go, I never see that again.
The bridge actually does an autosave.
But Steve could crash.
It could, yes. So
I said absolutely never.
I personally like taking the Goblin Guards. They are worth 3 times as much XP as a Goblin. And I think twice as much money. Now Nash fought a pack of 9, which is very time consuming, and it can also really rack up damage on your 4 mages. You see Nash's top mage there has 72 hit points. he has had 3 levels and gained all 3 strong level ups of HP, which is not very common.
The trail mix is super annoying when you don't have any AoE magic to deal with it. That's why I like to call this encounter with the goblins, the different type of wolves.
And a lot of times it's just faster to just run from it and just take the loss of money and get it back when you're in the ocean. Because it's as easy for them to kill off like a mage, and then that puts you down an extra 80 gold and just bleed out time. The whole goal is to go fast, so we want to go fast. The further you get into the game, the better enemies you're fighting. More XP and money that they're worth.
Yeah, and also not enough thunder charges at this point, because you're probably coming into this fight with only 1 charge left on each black mage. But Nash gets it done, and does get the benefit of the extra level before coming into Provoca.
Yes, you do want to be level 4 if you can on your fighter, so that he has 2 swings and he can one-shot the pirate. It's not necessary. You can manage with your fighter only hitting 1 time, but it's definitely a quicker fight if you're level 4.
And Thunder from the Black Mages will absolutely one-shot the pirates, so hopefully you're getting 4 down per round.
And the monk should one-shot them also, unless he misses a swing. But that doesn't happen very often, because pirates are not very tanky. They don't have much evasion or defense.
Pirates down for Steve, and he's gonna get a boat.
And Steve has not gotten a strong level up on either of his mages. So they're both sitting around 50 hit points. While Nash has got a mage who has more HP than either of their fighters. The pirate battle can drop a leather shield, which is actually a great item to get early on, which Nash just got.
Yeah, honestly, if we use the fighter more, I would buy one, just because of how powerful it is to have that extra parry.
It's actually not terrible to buy an iron shield in Marsh Cave if you're like a first time runner doing it. It's not very expensive and it's an extra 4 absorption, which can go a long ways. Especially when you're like fighting wizards and they hit you multiple times. And if you're defending, then all that absorption just keeps adding up.
So on to the high seas, where the enemies give us more gold, but they're a little annoying to kill until we get that Thunder AoE spell.
The best enemies to see in the ocean are buccaneers. They are worth 120 gold, and gold is the most important thing right now, more than XP. The next best enemy to see are the Sahagins, or Chief Sahagins I think they're called in this version. They're worth 105 gold. The things we don't want to see are the big eyes. They're worth 10 XP, 10 gold.
Or just see them alone because they're that quick to kill, but when they're with the Sahags, they're just all around annoying.
Yes, they can paralyze you, which can actually end a run early on, or just make fights take forever. And sharks, they're worth pretty good experience, more than an ogre actually, but they're not worth much gold, and they can hit you pretty hard.
They don't like to die quickly, but they like to absorb more than 1 spell charge, which is a very high annoyance.
Yes,
they can. Time in the game.
They can take 3 thunder charges to kill if you're unlucky.
Yeah, we want stuff that goes down to 1 spell cast as much as possible.
Yeah, the Sahagin or the Chief Sahagin plus Shark fight is actually good to see, and you can actually save thunder charges if you use Temper on your melee characters, so you can take them out quickly. It's not always, like, not everybody does it, but you can, and it can save you some thunder charges.
You can also get potions to drop from the Sahagins. We do have item drops in this version. And those are pretty nice just because they're bonus safety to have for Marsh Cave.
This Chief Ogre battle that Steve just got here is worth a lot. That's actually better than fighting Buccaneers, if you could kill it quickly. But as you see, it takes a little while without any good spells yet.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's definitely an investment of time, which is always a precious resource in either a speedrun or race, but you see the payoff there and everybody levels up.
Yep, 690 gold I think that is. That's more than 5 Buccaneers. And quite a bit more experience. So our next strong level up on the Black Mages is level 8. Level 8's a big level. They get their 3rd charge of Thundara, and they get their 2nd guaranteed strong level up hit points.
As far as our financial needs, that Thunder spell costs 8,000 gold, so we need 2,000 for that. Then we need money for items, which, if you ask me how many antidotes I want, the answer is yes.
So Steve here is doing something, I believe he based his routes on the world record run, so he's only going to buy 1 Thundara, which is what a lot of top-end runners do, but it's very risky. So he's rushing to Marsh Cave right away with very little supplies. It can be pretty sketchy because the wizards, or Pispa demons, can one-shot your Black Mage. And if that happens, you can waste many minutes just trying to get past that battle.
Yeah, I also like having the extra Thundercaster for Astos.
Yes, that can also help if that fight goes sideways. Like if he casts slow on your monk, it's nice to have backup Thundaras. But I am pretty sure that Steve based his notes on the world record run, so his strategies are going to be a bit off of what Nash does. And that's something great about this speedrun, is you can do things so many different ways. Even though you're using the same party, everybody has their own idea of what can work out. And they can all work out.
So Marsh Cave, where stuff loves to poison us, scorpions are just awful, and gargoyles can be jerks. I mean, they have wings, so they're basically birds.
Yes, you want to avoid gargoyles and scorpions as much as possible. Both of them can one-shot your mages with one attack. And the scorpions have the added bonus of poisoning you, and have a high chance of ambushing, because all the poisonous enemies have a higher chance of ambushing. At least they did on the NES. I'm not positive if they retained that going into Pixel Remaster. I know some of the ambush rates they swapped.
It's probably a good time to expound. You touched on the autosaves earlier. The game is automatically saving for us at different points, but in particular whenever we make these floor transitions.
Yes, every time you transition a floor, the game will autosave, and you can also quick save anywhere you want. And most of the time, if something goes wrong in a fight, it's generally faster to die than to exit out of the game and reload the game, because there's no soft reset function. And loading up the game can take a while based on people's controllers. Sometimes it doesn't register if you open Steam too fast. It can be a pain in the butt.
You really, really want to get through Marsh deathless whenever possible.
If you have one death, the best person to die is the fighter, and you prefer him to die on the wizard, not before, or Pispa demons.
Oh, does Nash not have antidotes?
I didn't see if he bought any, but I'm guessing he didn't have enough.
He reset back to his autosave, so
yes, there was only
either
one
he
fight
didn't have
back.
the antidotes or he didn't have potions. Enough potions. But he decided that redoing this is better.
Scorpions can do that to you. I did a run last night where I think I fought 4 groups of scorpions. It is very brutal. And Steve got his Pispa demons down real easy, and already got his crown. I actually didn't watch Steve for all of that, because I was looking at Nash's unfortunate scorpion battle.
Yeah, that was hard to look away from.
But it looks like Nash got out pretty easy for that Pisco Demon fight. So right now,
Nash is just getting into it.
yeah, Steve is a little ahead, but that doesn't mean anything in this game. That can change in one fight. You can be a minute ahead, then end up 2 minutes behind the other person.
Well, the phrase "imagine a bus" is very common in speedruns. Here, you can modify it slightly to say, "Imagine a bus named Lich."
Yeah, so many things can just end a good run. Lich is... he's a big roadblock in this game. In this version of the game, enemies no longer cast their spells in order. It's a free-for-all for what they can do. In every version of the game before this, every enemy used spells/skills in order. This one is just a percentage chance that they use it. So I like Nash keeping his fighter poisoned here.
I don't even think he has the antidotes if he wanted to clear it.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, like, besides like trying to load up a save, the fighter dying is good. Your fighter being dead for the Astos fight is ideal because Astos gives a lot of XP. And you want that early XP on your Black Mages and Monk, so that they have enough HP to survive, you know, Lich.
How crazy this is, but in a practice run, I had one of the Black Mages die, and I went ahead and reset the fight and did it over again just to make sure I was getting that experience there. So yes, you are right, that is a lot of experience, and you hate to miss out on it.
Oh yes, Astos gives quite a chunk of XP. He actually gives a lot of gold also. Steve's about ready to fight Astos here. So the normal strategy is just temper up the monk and fight with the monk and fighter. And hope that he doesn't instantly kill your monk, or blind him, or slow him.
That's not good. We're stun locked.
Oh yeah, that's... he's gonna have to load up the autosave after coming out of Marsh Cave. And that will happen.
And Chad asked about using a red mage. The primary reason you don't see red mages is spell damage.
Oh yes, I should actually turn on chat. I can actually see it myself. I actually have a lot of practice using red mages, and I very well might use one in this tournament, or use two in the tournament at some point, we'll see. But red mages have a lot less intelligence than black mages, and their intelligence means a lot.
Ooh, both mages down. This is tough for Steve.
Yep, and he's slowed. And taken out.
So we get the runner high five because Astos is doing Astos things.
Yep, and even with Nash's bad luck, they're caught back up. But yeah, a red mage struggles to output spell damage like the black mage. The red mage doesn't do the same spell damage as a black mage like at all. Like at level 1 black mage will do the same damage output as a level 30 red mage with spells.
Astos is also a pretty strong spellcaster that's early in the game, so that AoE fire damage is just brutal. You're not gonna live through 2 hits.
Unless you're a super tanky mage with 170 HP somehow. But yes, Astos can be brutal. A death on the fighter is perfect.
As long as you can survive the rest of the fight.
Yes. Thundara hurts, but it doesn't kill you instantly. And there goes that fight. I'm guessing he's out of thunders, and doesn't matter anyways.
Well, Steve just fought the one anyways.
Oh, I just meant regular thunder.
Oh, fair enough.
It's still extra chip damage. Alright, Nash is looking pretty good. One more swing and Astos is done. Overkilled much?
Not kill enough.
But yeah, a lot of these early boss fights are very, very deadly.
There's a
Like,
whole lot in this run where we're aiming for just enough.
yes, we pretty much bare bones the runs. If you wanted to be really safe for most of these fights, you could bring a white mage. It would make your run a lot slower. But if you went up to the Pisco Demons and you like cast a AoE heal spell on your whole team that can help keep you alive. If you fought Astos and muted him so he couldn't cast spells on you, that could also help you out. But you'd also have a white mage in your team that slows you down because they don't output any damage unless you're fighting undead.
Got through the Astos fight, and I know what I said earlier, but there's no way you're resetting it out after you've invested that much time. It's time to go.
Nope, and Steve can just run from all the battles on the way back to town. If he quick saves after each of them, and if things seem a little hairy, he can do that. And yes, the monk actually has pretty poor accuracy at the beginning of the game. It takes the monk quite a while to actually have any kind of real hit percentage. See, the fighter has a weapon that gives him bonus accuracy. The black belt does not.
Looks like Steve went ahead and used the Phoenix down, but didn't do any potions, and it'd be a really good idea to throw a potion on there too.
So it looks like Nash is buying early haste. A lot of runners do this, but not. He's 9 gold short, actually. Some runners like getting early haste, so that they don't have to come back here later in the game.
Made it to Elfland. Fantastic.
I'm guessing Nash did not buy Fyra, but I did not check. Some runners like to buy Fyra, which helps them through Earth Cave and early Ice Cave. I personally don't find it very helpful, but some people do. It's all whatever you feel makes the run easier for you, and more consistent.
Yeah, I'm pretty good with the thunder spells and ice. They get me through.
There are certain fights when having Fyra is definitely helpful. You can guarantee that you kill off like mummies and wraiths, specters, things that you can't kill off guaranteed with Thundara. And you can also use it against the ooze, I think they're called in this version.
Definitely an advantage on this.
So on the ocean here, we just want large packs of enemies like Nash has, and Buccaneers. Just want to get as much XP and gold as possible as quickly as possible. We're trying to get the Black Mage's health up. You prefer to have about 140 on your Black Mages by the time you make it to Lich. At least enough to survive one Blizzara. And they're going to be
Dutch like to do it.
Oh yes, he does. And you're going to be about level 15. 15 plus for Lich. Some people hit 16, but 15 is the magic number. Because you need to use 6 casts of Fire Aga, which the minimum to do that is to have 2 level 15 Black Mages.
Well, we are in the process of the fetch quest to get the Mystic Key, which is very nice for us on the speedrun, because we may have mentioned this before, but money is an issue, and the Mystic Key ends up meaning a whole lot of money to us.
Oh yes, Black Mages are very expensive to outfit. They require a lot of money for their spells, and we're bare boning the spells as it is. Like, we have nowhere near as many spells as we want. Like, we don't have fast on both of our mages, we don't have Blizzara on both of the mages. Ideally, you have Thundara and Fyra on both of them. Then by the time you get to the next town, you have even more spells. But you can't afford any of that.
Yeah, I'm just quick thinking in my head here that if we had another, say, 150k before going to Sea Shrine, we could easily spend it.
Yeah, but this isn't GBA. We don't have the ship minigame is not very helpful in this version of the game. It gives you an achievement. That's all.
And we don't have the PSP for infinite money either.
PSP, you don't even need anything. You just run around with things you're not supposed to be wearing on your head. So fleeing from battles here can be questionable when you really need the cash, but everybody's got their own strategies for what they feel is safe.
Very good question in chat about the potential of power, and yes, that was taken away from us. I'm not sure how much use of it we would get in a speed run, but boy, it'd be interesting to have it.
I don't think it would be very useful at all in a speedrun, honestly. Because we don't really do any sit down and grinding XP. We're always moving to our next location, just fighting things along the way. So personally, I don't think it would be very helpful. Casually though, it's
3
cool.
fights there and you'd have a whole bunch of money.
Oh yes, if you got good encounters. There's no guarantee you're gonna get the zombies though. Or giants, I guess. You could get things like the Tyrannos, Allosaurus, whatever they're called in this version, and they're not worth any money at all.
Mystic Key, the Elfin Treasury, gives us that Mithril Hammer is the biggest chunk of money.
Yep, the least worthwhile thing there is the bronze gloves, which some people will put on the fighter for extra absorption so he doesn't die. But most people just sell it for like $100. Because every bit of cash helps. That's 2.5 potions.
Sell it all! Loot it all, sell it all. Everything must go. Rock bottom prices.
Oh yes, we collect a lot of garbage and sell it all off. Because we need a lot of supplies here. We have to double dip Earth Cave. And that takes quite a bit. You're gonna need antidotes, at least 1 gold needle, at least 2 Phoenix Downs. Most people get 10 to 20 ethers, and then a bunch of potions.
No one's going to come out of Earth Cave and say, oh boy, I've just bought way too many potions.
Yeah, that doesn't really happen. I mean, I felt that way about my ethers, so I cut them. But I think I'm the only person who buys like 6 ethers. Everybody else is like 15 to 20 plus, usually.
This Canary item shop is our last item shop available before Earth Cave, because for whatever reason, the original game didn't put one in Melmond. Of course, kind of infamously, the narrative that has no clinic and explains that the vampire was part of it. But just so happens to not have an item shop either.
Yeah, maybe he took out the item shop just along the way. It's one of the 2 towns in the game that doesn't have a clinic or an item shop. The other one being Lufania, where people don't even speak the same language as us.
The only thing they have there is a magic shop.
It's a good magic shop, though. They only sell 2 spells, but one of them is really good. We won't be shopping there in this run, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of like a tree falling in the forest. Is it really a good shop if you never get anything from it?
I mean, it's the nuke spell, or flare in this version. Which, boy, would we like to have flare. That could speed up quite a few encounters, if we had it. So everybody buys different amounts of items when they're preparing for Earth Cave, just based on their preference for what they've experienced. And on Nash's screen, we are doing the last cutscene for a little while now. Giving a crazy dwarf some dynamite.
Question in chat about Nash's fighter. Well, Nash was in multiple towns with the ability to restore his fighter, so he's intentionally keeping him down right now and just getting the experience on 3 characters.
Yep, your fighter's going to be missing out on most of the rest of the run. He's just going to be a statue punching bag. And you want to get 15 on your mages as quickly as possible. And lots of people like to get even higher than that, just for extra safety for fighting Lich. The fighter doesn't need experience, so if he's dead for a while longer, that's just more XP for everyone else.
But notably, you can't get the fighter into the statue state while he's dead. So, eventually that fighter's going to need to come back to life, just get turned into stone.
Yes, I believe Nash is probably going to be running back to Carnaria right now to revive him. We'll see here in a minute. And I don't believe Nash revived him after Astos. Steve, maybe.
Honestly,
Yeah.
you could put it off all the way to Ice Cave, because people like to do that in Earth Cave, but you do have the option of waiting that long.
You can wait till Ice Cave, but it is a little bit risky. Because having your fighter dead, especially not putting your monk in slot 1, your mages are way more likely to be targeted right now. Because any enemy that would target the fighter gets retargeted through other characters. And the fighter is a 50% chance to be targeted. So that means, like, that half of the damage that he would be soaking up is now going to your other characters. Which can make things very scary.
So we have arrived at Melmond, sad as that is, but Shanezel, what are our runners looking to accomplish here?
Just buy Fire Ega, usually, and that's all. Some people will buy silver bracelets here for extra defense, but generally most people cannot afford it. Like Nash can't afford it, he's only buying Fire Ega, which is very common. So that means your black mages have 1 absorption going into Earth Cave, and can get one-shot by most enemies. Well, not one of Nash's mage. One of his mages is a tank.
At least in terms of HP. Glass
Yes. I mean, he could still be crit by a troll and one-shot still. Because trolls hit 3 times for a good amount of damage, and with 1 critical strike it can still kill that mage off.
Vampire could probably, if not do that, do real close.
Yes, Vampire could also with it, but it would have to be a crit. He doesn't do enough base damage. At least I'm pretty sure. I don't think he can do 180 damage.
By the way, probably a good time to mention what is actually going on here is part of a tournament. We've got everybody split into 2 groups, so you play everybody within your group, and this is the one time that Nash and Steve will play, but both of them will still be playing other opponents over the next few weeks.
Yes, we have 6 people in our group, I believe. So we're all going to be having 5 races each. This is the 2nd race of our group here. So everybody's got a clean slate, anybody could still technically win. And with this game, it's possible that runners that have lower average times beat runners with faster times because you don't know how the RNG is gonna go.
Got a sighting of the Tigers over here on Steve's side, which of course had that slim chance of dropping the X potion. And it did!
I believe it is either a 2 or a 4% drop. It's pretty low, and it's it's not often you're going to get them in a run. I have had one drop for me before in a speedrun, that's it. It's good to see. It can save you a lot of time, not a lot of time, it can save you some time later on. If you plan on only having 2 max revives or max heals for chaos. Or it can just give you extra safety. So on Nash's side here, we're trying to get petrified. We want our monk and our fighter both to be petrified, so they can soak up damage and not need to be healed.
That didn't go well. I'd probably kill the bird and get out of the fight.
I think killing the bird would probably be best also, but...
That worked out.
Yeah, it worked out in the end. Because even with one guy petrified, you could make it work for him.
So this ogre fight is fantastic. It's worth a lot, and this is one of the first chances you get to see one of the biggest changes in Pixel Remaster is the enemy formations. In every other version of the game, a giant sprite, like the ogres, like the giants kind of thing, just making it larger like that, there was a maximum limit of 4 per battle, and here they said, we don't really need that anymore.
Yeah, and I'm actually not a big fan of fighting those large packs of ogres. I actually like, personally, I just like to fight things that I can kill in one spell. And ogres take 2 spells, unless you are incredibly lucky with Fire Egg. So that's just my personal opinion. I also like to skip a lot more fights than most people, because I generally run a little riskier.
Time for the vampire, who is no pushover in this version, and you're definitely going to go down a quickly for that fight.
Yes, he can one-shot a mage pretty easily. He also has a chance to stun lock you. And if your melee characters are alive, they don't do much damage to him. So they're mostly useless anyways. Takes 2 Fire Aegas to take out the vampire. Now you can be risky and use 1 Fire Aega and 1 Thundara. That can do the job, but it's way more risky. Especially if somebody gets paralyzed.
One vampire dealt with, 1 Star Ruby and Dane.
So this is the only dungeon in the game where we're forced to double dip. We cannot progress any further in the dungeon without acquiring the Earth Rock. So we have to leave the dungeon again, go pick that up, then come right back here. It is what makes Earth Cave so lengthy. Because this 3rd floor here is very long to run. It's the longest stage in the whole game. So you have to run all the way through, then all the way back. I think it's worse than
it again, so 3 times through.
I think it's much worse than running through the waterfall. Waterfall, you get to walk diagonally most of the way through that dungeon. And you can't do that here. The corridors are very narrow. And the enemies are pretty deadly still. You can get stun locked, or petrified, or just killed.
Alright, Steve got through his fight with the Jerkbird successfully.
And as soon as you get both of your characters petrified, you want to save. You don't want something to happen, and then you die, and you have to load your save, and you've got to get petrified again. Because it can take a lot of time.
So a little note about these stats, as they are, of course, jerks. NPCs will move out of your way. Ish. They will move. Let's say that. They will move if you walk up against them.
You have to push
they
directly
still
into
mess
them.
up your pathing, though.
Yeah, they don't move very well. You have to run into them for like a solid 1.5 seconds before they decide to choose a direction to walk. It can be a pain in the butt. It's still better than on the
It's also
NES.
slightly faster because you don't have to detour for the treasure.
Yeah, you don't have to detour for the treasure, and honestly, a lot of people, or some people used to skip the Coral Sword, but it seems to be more common to pick up now. Steve did not get lucky on his vampire.
Now, Vampire one-shot the 104 HP of that lower Black Mage.
But Thundara can do the trick in a pinch. At least he won and can pick up his ruby. And you don't have to worry about saving directly after the vampire. So in this version of the game, fights are random, but you have to take X amount of steps before you get into a fight. So anytime you get into a battle, you have like 12 to like 30-ish steps for your next battle, depending on where you are. Some places have higher encounter rates than others. And it is random. Some more tigers for Nash. You always hope to get those X potions. But you definitely don't want to rely on getting a drop from the tigers, because you'll be sorely disappointed.
Yeah. I think we touched on this already, but those are complete heals. There's 4 of them available before we get to the final boss. Only 3 of them are practical, though.
You only need, like, you can beat Chaos with only 1 or 2. But a lot of people like to have a 3rd one for safety, because if the fight goes bad quickly, which it does quite often, you might be down to just your monk, and he might have to heal himself 2 or 3 times to try and continue buffing himself to stay in the fight. Because Chaos has 20,000 HP, and that takes a long time to slowly wear down.
Yeah, I mean, think of it this way. How bad would you feel if that 3rd complete heal would save a Chaos fight and you didn't have it?
Yep, because they aren't that difficult to go out of your way and pick up. It only costs you like 10-ish seconds for each of them if you're only grabbing a full heal.
Except the 4th one. That one's just awful.
Yeah, that one, that'll cost you a few minutes if you want to go pick that up. Same with going to grab the Masamune. That will also cost you a few minutes if you wanted to do that, which we have no need for since we use them. So here's the Earth Rod for Nash. Now he can finally finish the 3rd floor of the Earth Cave.
So that was also one of the changes they made in Pixel Remaster versus the NES. Honestly, of all the Pixel Remaster games, this one is the least faithful to the original game. There's great quality of life, there's a lot of stuff that makes it easier, but I think by far, 1 is the most different game from the original.
Yeah, I never really thought about that, but it's definitely true. It is far from the original. Which is kind of wild, because they wanted these to be their image of what they wanted it to be like originally.
This is still very, very reflective of the original game, and I don't want to suggest otherwise, but things like the items available are the biggest difference. And they gave us a lot of quality of life, like, I'm sure Nasir would have given us diagonal walking, except that wasn't a thing on the NES, so it wouldn't have even occurred to him.
Yeah, we hit level 99 now. And back in the day, 50 was the max level. And that's a big difference. Like, your characters become very powerful if you level all the way up to 99. And you would think that would take more time than on like the NES, but no. Because they lowered the amount of XP you need for every level. And they also made everything cheaper too. So you spend less time needing to grind experience and money to acquire things, which is a nice quality of life adjustment.
Probably our true final boss, though, is menu time, and it is just so hard to stay out of the menus in this speedrun.
Oh yes, if you want to be safe, you should probably heal up your mages anytime they take a hit, because the next fight, they could die. I see lots of people make the mistake of refusing to heal, then they get taken out and have to waste minutes to get back to where they were. It happens, and the more it happens to you, the more you'll want to do some saves and or just heal. Like if Steve fights a group of tigers, they can easily take him out. Because tigers have a very high crit rate and can do well over 100 damage a shot. Now you want to stay out of the menu to be fast, but there's a fine line there between being fast and too risky.
And it's one of those things where there's just no real clear rule. It's just you've got to do it and use your best judgment every time. And sometimes you're going to be wrong and learn that lesson for next time.
Oh yes. Now if you're just running through really short screens, it's not as big of a deal. Like a lot of these, worst case scenario, you die, you have an extra 1, maybe 2 fights to remake up. It's not that bad. But in other times, like if you're in the 3rd floor of the Earth Cave, like Nash is, you can lose 2.5 to 3 minutes on one floor. Like if you don't save on this floor, and you die near the end, and have to redo that whole thing, that's like 6 fights. That's a lot of time.
Lich here is a big milestone for the run. We're just a couple of floors away, but that's still a lot of enemies to go.
And we need to be level 15 for Lich, which Nash has already. So he doesn't need any more XP, but he's taking extra battles, probably hoping for an extra level up on his bottom mage, because he is not guaranteed to live through a blizzard. If Lich has high intelligence / luck, he can still one-shot his bottom mage.
4th floor here, basically the same enemies as the 3rd floor. There's very little difference between them.
There's a few additions which are like more undead. The trolls, which are not on the 3rd floor, they're on the 2nd floor, but not the 3rd floor. Most of the enemies you've seen before. The giants now come with groups of grimps and werewolves. Goblin guards, that's what they're called. And that can be a huge pack of 9 enemies. Which is good for XP if you can get a preemptive on it.
At 200 HP, though, that's ridiculous for
Oh yes.
Nash's Black Mage.
This is something that happens a
I
lot.
wonder if he was out of softs.
He probably, yeah, he had to use his gold needles earlier on the fight that he took when he first got petrified.
Yeah, that's a
had to
big
use
loss, because you're probably not quick saving on the floor.
Nope, he set back, I think, 2 fights on that floor, which gives Steve time to catch up.
There
And
was that
Nash is-
reboot there. I believe that was for the controller not picking up. A couple people have commented on this, that Steve doesn't always like to pick up that controller on a quick restart of the game.
And it looks like Nash actually did save right before that battle, so he didn't actually lose much time. So that's good on him.
No, I think that is a little further back.
It might have been 1 fight
There's
back,
at least 1 fight back. Yeah.
but making these quick saves can really help you out. And he's fighting a lot of jerkbirds. They actually have a
This
decent
is where
chance to
he
drop a
was
gold
on
needle.
that fight last time, so it was 2 back.
Okay. Well, he has an extra gold needle now.
You're not going to complain about that.
You get them to drop when you don't need them.
Yeah, basically, 1 extra gold needle was a difference of about a minute there.
And that could just be the time that Steve needs to catch back up into this. Because we don't know how Lich is gonna go. Lich can be rude to anyone.
It's one of those things, even if you're not watching these races, that's why you just gotta play your game, is because whatever bad stuff is happening to you, it's probably happening to your opponent too.
Yes. Because a lot of this game is based on RNG, and it is generally not in your favor. You can get lucky sometimes, but that luck generally doesn't hold for the whole run.
Steve about a full floor behind right now, as Nash is gonna go into Lich. Start at full health, always. Don't short that.
Yeah. You always want to heal the full, even if it's 1 HP. Especially if you have a mage that's got like 140 hit points. That Blizzara could hit you for 138, 139, and you could be happy you used that heal potion. So it's going to take 6 Fire Agas and 1 Thundara to take out Lich. It's possible that it takes 2 Thundaras if your mages have low rolls.
Alright, that was a really good first 2 tenons at a Lich. Are we gonna get the third? The fire spell comes out, big damage. And Lich is down. First try for Nash, that's the way you like it.
Yep, that's good. It's a scary battle, even when you're prepared. You could be 10 levels higher than this and still get screwed because he just uses Blizzara twice and your whole team wipes. But you could also just be nice and just try to punch statues. It's all with the RNG. So Steve,
and even if you brought an anti-ice spell in there to protect you, it's not going to work because then he's just going to cast Thunder instead.
Yep, he could just hit you with Fyra and you're taking damage from that. But yeah, Steve's bottom mage is looking pretty sketchy on his hit points also. He is not guaranteed to survive a Blizzard. Now it's not necessarily going to happen, but I believe Blizzara is Lich's most likely action. So you always have to be prepared for it.
I'm sorry, did Nash just get a second complete heal drop?
That's the first one he got, I think. Oh, did he get one earlier too?
I think he did.
He did, huh? Yes. Well then. That's, convenient. Yeah, I don't think it was... Did Steve get one also? I don't remember.
Not sure on that one.
That was like 10 minutes ago. I can't remember that far back.
We can. We're 5 minutes ago. Well, actually, we can because that's when Nash had the change.
Yes. Alright, Steve's coming up on Lich here in a second.
This
so
is
hopefully
really gonna be tight. You're hoping that Lich is gonna do some melee here.
Yes. Or if he does nuke you, it's with a weaker spell. So Steve is out of
slow, that would be fine.
Steve only has 5 casts of Fire Aegis. So he's gonna have to get real lucky and last at least an extra turn on the fight.
So Nash on his way to Crescent Lake, where magic is important, but most important, we need a canoe.
And some more healing items, because our supply is pretty much empty at this point. So
you have to run 30 minutes plus off the one shop. By 1 HP, Lich, you are a jerk.
That's what I mean. That Blizzara. He does that.
So when you're in a situation like that, and you know you've lost anyways, Lich specifically is one of those where it's always going to be faster to just let him kill you.
Not always.
Near
but
always.
generally. there are times he could just sit there and spam hold.
Okay, good opening turn. He attacks one of the statues.
So Nash here needs to save 26,000 bucks to buy his spell, but the rest of the money you can spend on all your items that you need.
Bolt comes out, targets one of the mages, but doesn't deal damage, so it's not that bad.
The paralysis is kind of bad because he needs that mage for fire against.
Well, I was also counting on the black mage coming out of it within a turn or two. There it is. So both runners got Lich first time. That's fantastic.
It took Steve 2 tries, actually.
You're right. The one HP kill bumped the
Yep.
Blizzard.
But they made it by, and both under an hour, so that's not bad. For lots of versions of this game, killing Lich around an hour is pretty average. And then after that, it varies based on the version.
Another one of those things you always want to consider is do your healing before you transition to the next floor. That way your autosave has your health up instead of having to do it again.
That can really screw you up. I did a run last night where I thought I used up all of my ethers, but then I died and reloaded, and I didn't use up all my ethers. And then I ended up casting a spell in battle, and I was like, I don't have enough spells for the next boss fight. Then I reset again, because I was thinking I used up all my ethers, even though I actually didn't. So you don't want to put yourself in that situation. Always try and use your items before the autosaves. It can save you a headache.
Monsters Nash is now encountering are a bit chunky because they're northern continent monsters that got brought into the southern continent.
Yeah, in lots of versions of the game, there's separation between the South River monsters and the North River monsters. And on this version, they just combine them both together. And so there's a lot of very powerful enemies here, which can easily one-shot mages. You think Nash's mage is safe at over 200 health? Nah, he can still be one-shot. If those Frost Gators attack him, he can be taken out. Or a Hydra crit can take him out. Ice Cave is one of the scariest dungeons in Final Fantasy 1. Doesn't matter what version you're playing. It's always one of the scariest dungeons. There's a lot of very deadly encounters here.
And the NES version will just build shield terror into you.
Yeah, that's a lot to do with your routing. Because you know what you're gonna fight. You see the death coming. You just hope that it misses you. So Dark Wizards, if they ambush you, they can really easily take you out. They're one of the many enemies that can just murder you with AoE spells. They have quite a few of them.
Really become a concern starting in Earth Cave. In Ice Cave. This is probably, until Chaos Shrine, the most AoE magic we have pointed against us.
Yes, this dungeon has a lot of it. Between the Frost Dragons, the mages, or whatever they're called, this one, Dark Fighters or something. And
yeah,
there's
and
also
even the Mind Flayers with Trance.
Yes, they can paralyze your whole party, then instantly kill you by melee. And you can also get put to sleep by mummies, petrified by the cockatrice. There's lots of things that can screw you over. You can be stun locked by all of the undead. It's a place where doing extra safety saves here and there is not a bad idea.
So Nash was able to build a bit of a lead through Earth Cave that he's taking into Ice, but Steve is about to get that canoe.
I'm assuming Steve is out of Phoenix Down.
Probably because, again, it's been over 30 minutes since we've been in an item shop.
Oh yes. And if you're trying to save money for not using a Phoenix Down and reviving at the clinic here, it's not going to save you much. This clinic costs 400 to revive, while a Phoenix Down costs 500. So just buying a Phoenix Down is actually perfectly fine. Because the $100 compared to the time loss isn't really a big deal. It's faster to revive with Phoenix Down than to use it.
See, there's so much AoE attacks in this ice cave that you'll always forget one, so we didn't even mention the frost wolves.
Yeah, the
throw
frost
out their little
wolves,
frost attack.
they're not bad if they're with the frost giant. But if you fight a pack of 5 to 7 of them, they can take you out pretty easily also.
There's a lot of that in the ice cave.
Yeah, there is one good, safe encounter in the ice cave. And that is the red bones? What are they called in this item? Anyways, the red skeletons are the only easy fight that isn't threatened. Everything else is something they can do. The Pisco demons can easily just punch your mages a couple times and kill them. And in other versions of this game, they are unrunnable. Blood bones, yeah, that's correct. I'm used to them being R-bone.
Alright, time for the boss fight of the ice cave for Nash. He is about to do battle with the eye.
Yeah, the evil eye is a joke compared to like everything else we've fought so far. He doesn't really do much except for die.
I really think if we had the option to farm him like we did in other versions, we would still probably do some of that, just not as much as, say, the PSP.
Yeah, I think like 5 to 10 battles would be like a maybe. You could flee from a lot more encounters. And black mages do have the highest chance to flee in this version of the game at this level. Even thieves don't become better at running away until like the mid-30s. So black mages are good for getting away from encounters. It doesn't feel like that when you're playing the game. It feels like they can never run. It could be because they're lugging around statues. They're not known for their strength.
Well, they couldn't find the armor of invincibility, so they had to settle for the fighter statue of invincibility.
Another ice shield.
That's
So-
good money. You're not gonna argue with it.
Oh no, getting an ice shield drop is very nice. Especially since Nash got the X potion drops already, he could skip picking up one or both of them. If it was me, I wouldn't pick up either of the full heals in the Cardiac. I would skip them and skip the money.
Good question, chat. Why are two of them stuck as statues? Well, only one of them is stuck there permanently. The fighter is never going to be on the statue. The black belt is just not helpful right now, so it's better to stay statued.
So your characters being petrified, they still gain full experience in this version of the game, and they can still be targeted by enemies. So enemies can target them and hit them for immune damage. And your top 2 slots they're likely to be targeted. 75% of the time, the enemies will target your top 2 characters. So you are soaking up damage for free, and you also have 2 less actions to make in every battle, which saves a whole lot of time over the course of a run. So the black belt we will use later on as our main damage dealer, but for now he's not very useful. So he's just gonna soak up hits for the black mages who are hard carrying the early and mid game. But eventually, the black mages are going to be put on support duty. Once we get to the final few fights of the game, they just support the monk and everything he does.
Steve really having some trouble with those HP rolls. There's nothing you can do about it except hope the next time works out better.
Yes, that's the one issue I have with running Black Mage. It took me a long time to crack and start using Black Mages in this run. I was very adamant about using Red Mages for their higher hit point roll. But as the world record kept getting lower and lower, I realized I had to make the switch to stand a chance. Because Black Mages, they don't have guaranteed HP very much. You can have a level 30 Black Mage that doesn't have 200 hit points. And we could see that today with Steve's at this rate, unless he starts gaining some hit points fast.
And
We
another
don't-
question in chat, is there any point to the fighter? And at this point, it doesn't really matter if that's a fighter or any other character as the statue, but in those early bosses of Garland, the Pisca Demons, and even for Astos, there's some benefit to having the fighter more damage.
So yeah, the fighter, he is going to stay a statue the whole game. He actually has a very important role for most of the endgame battle, and that is to be a distraction. So most of the final fights in the game that are challenging have around a 40% chance to melee attack you. And in that 40%, 50% of that is going to be targeted on the fighter. So that makes it so they are much less likely to target your more important characters and one-shot them. Like when you're fighting Chaos, you hope that Chaos just tries to punch your fighter 2 or 3 times, then your goal for like the rest of the fight. And early game, the fighter is there to... The fighter is by far the strongest character at the early portions of the game, so we use him for that. You could use a red mage and try and use like more spells early on or something, but it generally doesn't work out as well as the fighter because he has high hit points while being able to wear good armor.
So waterfall here, we need the cube, and also, it's our first chance to pick up a ribbon.
Yes, a ribbon is the most important piece of armor we can pick up in the game. It gives you resistances to all status elements in the game. It is very handy, like having any of the damage spell, and can make you resist a lot of spells that would otherwise hit you, like the slow spell. Slow 1 is a status effect spell, and if you have a ribbon on, you resist most status effects pretty easily. Now, slow 2 is non-elemental, so a ribbon will not protect you from that. Or slow sorry. There are
I
only...
just think this is a case where in RPGs, the US got it right with the number system, because that's just
I
a
know.
lot easier to follow.
Slow 2 is so much easier. Like, Fire 1, 2, 3, that's so much easier than Fire Fire Ega, Fire Raja. That's too much. Numbers is definitely easier. So this is the trap tile, which sadly isn't worth much XP on this version. In lots of other versions of the game, there are higher Whiz Mummy caps, which are worth a lot of XP. So Nash got his first ribbon. There are 3 in the game, and we will be utilizing all 3 of them. And that's actually another reason why we keep the fighter as a statue. Because we don't have a 4th ribbon, it makes it hard to keep a 4th character alive in the Chaos battle. Because Chaos uses a lot of different elements.
That part would be really easy to overcome last change, because we could get Dragon.
Yes.
Hardly
You
any
could-
extra steps.
You could get the Dragon Armor and the Aegis Shield with a Pro Ring, and be resistant to most elements. Now, Chaos could still one-shot your fighter with Earthquake, but
Yeah,
otherwise
and-
you'd be pretty
and
resistant.
Honestly, a hasted chaos would still one-shot, which is a big difference because the statue fighter doesn't die to that.
Yes. Now, you can actually get around a hasted chaos if you have a white mage, or even red mages if you buy the red wizards. They have to be upgraded to learn the Protectra spell, and you can cast that a few times and really blunt the damage of any melee attack. I did a run not too long ago where I was using white mages, and I had a hasted chaos punching me for less than 100 damage.
Ooh.
Yep. So there's ways around it. You just have to be thinking outside of the box to get that done, and use other classes that aren't as quick. Now technically you could also do that with Protect drinks, which we will be going to our little dealer in the desert.
Underhill.
Yeah, we're going to be buying a bottle here in a minute, and then buying some secret items that a lot of casual runners miss out on, and they are very powerful. We're going to be buying giant tonics and speed drinks.
These were added with the remakes, and it's one of the things I was really surprised that they added to this version, but especially with that 20k HP chaos, it's a welcome thing.
Oh yes, you can beat Chaos without any of these items, but it is much more difficult if you're trying to speedrun it anyways. Casually you can still do it because you'll be high enough level that you still have the points. But Giant Tonics increase your max HP by 200 temporarily. So we buy 3 of them for the Chaos fight, to increase our Monk's hit points by 600. If you have very, very good rolls on your Monk, you might be able to get away with only 2. But generally you need all 3, unless your Monk starts off with like 500 HP.
Yeah, Steve is not seeing that kind of luck right now.
No, his Monk looks pretty sad. None of his characters have a lot of HP, honestly, which can be very difficult to get through the game, and it will pose quite a challenge on the final boss.
Realistically, it feels like a full half of what you do the entire run is getting ready for chaos, so it's not unreal that we're looking at that HP now and thinking, oh, this isn't good.
Yes, because honestly that's the main build-up of the whole game. We're getting ready for chaos. If chaos wasn't a big threat, we could just use a fighter for a damage dealer for the whole run. Because the fighter can do plenty fine damage and takes less time to buff than the monk does. But the monk just has the double damage output, which makes it so you need a lot fewer rounds to kill chaos. And that's what's important, is killing chaos quickly. Because that fight gets out of hand real fast.
Steve about to pick up the airship, just has to get out of this speed fight.
Well, Nash is getting his Oxiale, which we need to go to the Sea Shrine, and supposedly breathe underwater even though it doesn't look like we're really underwater.
Yeah, I was nitpicking that last night. I'm not going to do a repeat of my nitpick.
I never thought about that, but looking at like the backgrounds while you're in combat, it looks really nice, but it is pretty apparent that you're not like surrounded by water, like inside of it, which is interesting. So this run is an average speed run of the game is about 2 hours for a good time. World record is like a 142 or something, which is ridiculous. But most people that grind on the game, they can get their times down to around the 2-hour mark with a decent amount of practice. Even without a ton of practice, you can get a 2:15 pretty easily. But it takes repetition. You have to get used to all of the different things going wrong in the run, because oh boy, they're gonna go wrong.
And you can do absolutely everything right and still spend 20 minutes on chaos.
Oh yes. The map itself is pretty similar to the NES. There are a few alterations, but it's very minimal. You could play this like 10 times and know what you're doing, then hop into the NES, and you'd find your way just fine.
The biggest difference as far as this versus the NES on maps is that I call this zoomed in. You see much less of the screen than you would in the NES. You'd see like 25% more of the floor.
But you don't have a mini-map on it.
Yeah, mini-map.
So it could be easier to get lost if you aren't paying attention or you're newer. So the Sea Shrine here is where XP really starts to kick it up a notch. You generally want to take most of the battles. White Sharks are a little iffy because it takes them 2 spells to be killed. So a lot of people will run from the White Sharks and take everything else. Because we really want
for that diamond that we just picked up there, because it's the best body armor we're gonna get for our party.
The diamond armlet is actually the best body armor, period, for unevolved or unclass changed characters. Even the fighter, that's the strongest equipment for him. I mean, you could use the ice armor. The ice armor has the same absorption, but it has a larger evasion penalty. But it gives.
You do also have to give it a little credit for the elemental resist.
Yes, the elemental resistance can be nice, and there's only 1 diamond on it. So you have to really choose who gets it. And we give it to a mage early on to soak up some of the damage until we revive the monk. Once we revive the monk, he needs the extra safety net, because we need to keep him alive at all costs for the late game.
This waterfall also has a whole bunch of money in it, and we still have basically, well, for Steve, he has 2 big shopping trips because he has to purchase the bottle, which is stupid expensive, as well as the potions. And then we're also going to need 1 more purchase of items to be able to get the final dungeon done.
And Steve also has to purchase the Blizzaga spells, which are 30k a piece, which is quite pricey. Now, not everybody purchases 2 of them. Some people only get 1 Blizzaga. I like getting 2. I find it's a lot easier to run through the final section of the game having double Blizzaga.
You talk about the shark taking 2 spells, but once you start throwing the EXP pinata and the big guy in there, that makes the fight a little more worth spending 2 charges on.
Yes, the big eye is not a threat, and he's worth 1 of the highest amount of XP out of any of the monsters in the game. He's not quite the highest, but he's up there, and so it is worth taking that battle. It generally will give twice as much XP as any of the other battles here, if not more. Some other fights, like a triple water elemental, is worth pretty good experience also. But Big Eye is like, the Big Eye Gur Shark is the best fight you can get for XP in the whole dungeon.
Leave out of the waterfall, and it's shopping trip time. Also, I think Steve has to route in the Cardia Islands to get his HP items as well.
Yes, it doesn't hurt having backup items, especially if you're a newer runner, like Steve is. He's actually relatively new to running the game. It doesn't hurt to have extra safety, because all these full heal items can really save the day in a pinch. So both of our runners, monks, are looking a little shy on their hit points. You really want them to be between 350 and 400 when you're in the Temple of Fiends, which we are creeping up on, and we're not gaining as many levels as we were earlier on. It starts to slow down a bit. So every level is important for hoping that we get these strong level ups.
If you're willing to invest the spell charges, though, there is still a whole lot of experience ahead.
Oh yes, there's a lot of fights you can take. If your characters have very high levels of HP early on, you can skip a lot of the battles and make your run much faster. But generally that becomes difficult to do unless your characters just have amazing points.
So another question in chat about how the stats work. There's some baselines that are baked in, but there's enough randomness that it's very noticeable. And the best example I can give is look at both teams have their black mages the same levels, or at least within a level or two of each other across all four, and how wildly different are the HP.
Yeah, some stats are set. So like black mages, when they hit level 4, they have the first guaranteed strong level up on hit points. Every time you gain a level, you gain your vitality divided by 4 plus 1 for HP. So black mages start off with 1 vitality. So they gain 1 HP every level, which is nothing. But every strong level up, they get a bonus 20 to 25. And on top of that, when it's not your strong level up, you have a 1 in 8 chance of gaining a stat you're not guaranteed to gain. And hit points is one of those stats that you can gain.
Boy, this is going to be a good vibe. You're just putting on the clinic with the knowledge.
I do what I can. But yeah, it's very random. You cannot rely on those level ups. And you can even try and force them if you want. But it's difficult to do. 1 out of 8 it's a lot to try and hope for. And those rolls go for all of your stats. You could get a black mage that has massive strength if you're super lucky, and he could melee harder. Not that you're going to melee with your black mage, but theoretically you could. You could even buff him up to do high levels of damage. It would just take a lot more buffs than, anybody else.
It's Kraken time!
So Kraken isn't too bad. Kraken 1 isn't too bad most of the time. He's only sketchy if he punches one of your mages on round 1 before they get their cast on. It takes 6 casts of Thundaga to kill him. And generally when you're here, you have either 4 or 5 spell casts on each of your characters. So even if he takes 1 out, you can usually still kill him with the solo mage. So it's generally not that tough of a fight, and he has no AoE spells that do damage. This version of Kraken can only punch and use ink. If he's punching, 75% of the time it'll be on a statue. And ink is going to do nothing, because we have ribbons on. And even if it did hit you, it would just blind you, so your melee attacks. Who cares?
Alright, so we see that Nash is effectively the Sea Shrine ahead. That really is our gap right now. That is still really close. Make no mistake that Monster in the Sky, a bad Tia, a bad Warmax sighting, it could narrow that up.
And there's of course, the biggest casino role is Chaos. You can sit on Chaos for 10 plus minutes sometimes. It literally happened in our race last night.
And not just Chaos, but you've got Lich 2, you've got Tia 2, and even Kraken 2 can hold you up for a
all of the
runs.
Fiend refights can actually kill you. Even Marilith can take you out. If she attacks your monk, she can kill him real quickly. And that can set you back, especially if you're trying to wait for her to kill you and she just decides not to. You can waste 2-3 minutes in a fight on her.
So the remakes added the X potions, which are complete HP heals, and elixirs, which are complete HP and MP heals. They also added a Mega Elixir, and one of these elixirs would have been a Mega Elixir, but for whatever reason, that's where they drew the line, and they made it just an elixir in here.
I'm glad they don't have a Mega Elixirs in this version. I feel like The run could be so much different if we didn't even have X potions or elixirs. It could be like a lot of other versions of the game where you're required to have a white mage. And I personally think that would be better. It would make the run less RNG dependent. So that's just my personal opinion on it. With there being those items, it gives us room for having a unique setup of characters which we don't have in any other version of the game. So that's cool. Because this is the only version of the game where you rely so heavily on black mage.
Yeah, and even that, a large part of that is just because of the lack of the XP farming. Because if you could do 20, 30 eyes, then we'd run a whole lot more.
Yes, we could run from a lot more enemies. But if we could run from a lot of enemies, and we were running all the time, we would want to have the class that could run away easily. And that just happens to also be the black mage.
So you translate the slab with Dr. Un, and then you come up to the vein to get the chime.
The chime is the one key item in the game that is the most likely for a runner to miss. It's very easy to forget the chime, go to Lupania, and realize you can't speak their language. Every runner, or most every runner, has done that at some point. You just get so used to just going there quickly, and one little thing can throw you off, and you forget to talk to Dr. Un. Then you just have to waste like 3 minutes to make the trek back to Melmont. I mean, it's understandable to not want to go to Melmont. It's not a great town, but we have to go there at least once. That's the minimum for beating the game. Now with our current route, we usually go there twice. Some people go there 3 times. I actually like to go there 3 times. I like to go to Melmont.
Like is a strong word.
I can like the town that no one else does. It means I'll hang out there by myself. It's fine.
You and Jim the dwarf.
Yeah, I don't know why he would leave the dwarf cave to go hang out in Melmont.
I had a marathon run, and I threw it as a bonus, an incentive called the friends we made along the way. So I went around and talked to all those named NPCs, whether they served a purpose or not. But for whatever reason, they got names in various versions, so I remember these stupid names.
Yeah, there's a wizard in Provoca that is actually from Melmond, and he is commonly in the way on the NES. In this version, he doesn't get in your way. That's a good thing.
Well, we are in the Mirage Tower, where the enemies do kind of pick up a little bit. You've got the Blaze. Would be worse if we didn't have the ribbons, but we got ribbons on both of our mages. The biggest thing you get here is not so much new enemies. There are some, but you tend to get packs of more stuff than you have in other parts of the game.
Yes, they are worth a good amount of experience. Now, the problem is with this dungeon is a lot of the fights can take time if you get ambushed. A lot of them have AoE, which just takes a lot of time for it all to go off. And of course, you have to heal up the damage also. But it's worth good XP. A lot of the time, if you are on a great pace and you're looking good on HP on your monk, you can flee from a lot of these encounters to try to save yourself a good amount of time. But that also brings with it quite a risk.
And then this blue dragon guards the way. Weakest element is ice, so that's what I guess.
You need 2 Blizzagas to kill him. He is resistant to thunder. I'm not sure if you can Blizzaga and Fire Egga here to kill him in one round. You only have 1 Blizzaga. Maybe. I haven't tried it. I always buy double Blizzaga.
There is something to be said for guarantees.
It looks like Steve's mages are starting to gain some hit points. So it looks like he won't be entering the final dungeon under 200, which is good. Because it was looking like it for a little while then.
Yep, this monk HP needs to be picking up pretty soon.
Yes, both their monks' hit points are relatively low. So Nash's next strong level up for his monk will be level 30, which is a long ways away. The monk gets one at like 24, then he doesn't get another one until 30. Then he gets another one at 32. So, like, there's a large gap there where you don't have guaranteed hit points on your monk.
And a question in chat about the version. This is the Pixel Remaster that is available on Steam. It came out last year, and it's available now if you'd like to get it.
It is currently available on PC and on Androids, I believe. So you could play this on your phone. I don't know how well it works on the phone. I haven't heard bad things about it, but I just haven't heard a whole lot about it.
So those fire hydras are, of course, in the volcano, which in game logic we would have already done, and could see them in 1 to 2 formations, but a pack of 4 here. That's actually a really nice encounter because they don't have much HP. They're easily going to go down to one bullseye.
They do go down easily, but if they ambush you, it can be pretty lengthy because they have AoE that they love to spam.
Alright, bring up the monk early. Now,
So,
we said earlier that there's an advantage to doing your healing before you do the floor transition because then it's all saved. But you're gonna save before Tia anyways.
he's actually doing this now in case he fights Warmech. There is a chance that he might try to actually fight the Warmech.
I mean, I'd love to see it, I just don't think we're well set up to even attempt it.
And you could, like, if the monk had more HP, you could survive. It's very sketchy, but it's doable. All you need is Warmech to punch your fighter like once or twice, and then you're golden.
I will say, if we get a Warmech in here, then Steve is the lucky charm, because he did our hype race about 2 weeks ago, and we did in fact have a Warmech in.
Warmech is probably the rarest enemy in this version of the game. Most versions of the game have like actual 1 in 64 encounters in lots of dungeons. I feel that they have altered a lot of those odds. Most of the rare enemies seem a lot more common in this version. Warmech is the exception to that rule. You can sit there and try to fight him for 40 minutes and not beat him.
It's also a short war, so the quick passing and getting 3-4 encounters lowers those odds. Whereas, say, the T-Rex, which I think is Tyrannosaurus on the overworld, there's more time spent walking through there, but still every bit as rare.
So on Nash's screen, you are seeing our final boss strategy here. We're going to be using Giant's Gloves on the Monk. Giant's Gloves increase your attack power by 16 and your accuracy, I believe, by 6, which becomes 3% in this version. And then we're also going to cast the Temper spell, which increases your attack by 14, and Haste, which doubles your number of swings. So we turn the Monk's space attack, which would hit Tiamat for like maybe 80 points of damage, into a monstrous like 800 to 1800 damage.
And we have a Fiend 5.
Yep, both on different fiends, trying their best. Nash had an unfortunate fight on Tiamat the first time. Tiamat wasn't nice, and she punched the monk, and that's the worst thing you could have happen. The monk getting punched is generally a run kill if you're not full.
Just barely survived that poison gas attack. And fortunately used the high potion, so in good shape now.
Yes, in my opinion, if you're fighting any of these fiends, Tiamat later, and if any time the monk takes damage, don't be afraid to heal him right away. Even if you take a little bit longer to have to buff yourself. It is much better to just be safe and survive the battle than to play it risky and die and have to redo the whole thing.
Steve is finished with the Sea Shrine as Nash wraps up the Sky Castle, and Nash will need to go on to the volcano next.
The volcano is the Forgotten Dungeon. We are supposed to go to the volcano before the ice cave, but there is nothing useful in the volcano for us, so we skip it to get better items and larger amounts of experience faster. And since we skipped that dungeon so much earlier, we kind of just fly straight through it. We don't pick up any items, we run through all the battles because they aren't worth very much, and we just go straight to the boss. It's probably the quickest dungeon in the game, besides the first time you visit the Temple of Fiends and just fight Garland.
If that even counts as a dungeon at that point.
Yeah. Because a lot of times you're not even fighting a single battle, besides Garland.
So what are those little optimizations in the games? Things like where you park the airship. Steve parked it on the right side of town just because that's where he flew in and he didn't want to mess with it. But the game's going to dump you out on the left side of the town every time. So then you have to walk around it to get your airship.
Yes, it will drop you in a very specific tile. So a lot of experienced runners will park on the tile that it spits you out on. So you don't have to worry about taking extra steps. Because every step you take gets you one step closer to an encounter. And in the volcano here, we try and take all of the damage. Damage tiles are safe squares with an asterisk next to it. They increment the amount of steps until your next fight, but you can't get into the fight while you're on a lava tile. So if done well, you can delay how many steps you take until your next fight. And the damage is not much. 1 damage per step is better than being in a battle. And you're going to take more damage than those lava.
Fire enemies showing up here.
Yeah, I feel like fire elementals are way more common now than they used to be. And a lot of runners, while in Volcano, will try to have 2 of their characters flee, while 1 mage is casting Blizzaga the whole time, just to give you a little insurance that you're going to get away.
A randomizer would like to call that the nuke and run strats.
Oh yes. A lot of people will do that quite often, just for insurance that you're getting away from battles. And Steve here, he purchased, since he waited to waited to buy haste until now, he's able to afford buying 2 haste spells, which makes the end game a little bit safer. Because if you're fighting one of these end game enemies and your haste user goes down, a lot of times you're just kind of screwed. But if you have 2 mages with haste, it can be a lot easier for your backup strategy to pay off.
So Merilith here is not a huge threat, but if buffing gets you through it faster, then faster is good.
Merilith isn't super tanky. If you actually buy Blizzaga on both of your mages, you can kill her in 3 or 4 rounds with just casting Blizzaga. In some older versions of the route, we would do Merilith before Tiamat, so that we would still have the monk petrified, and just take her out with Blizzagas. And it's honestly about the same speed as using the monk strategy. But it's generally nice to get the XP from Sky Castle sooner.
And it's a really easy path to the Chaos Shrine from the
Yes,
volcano.
it's also a lot easier to set up all of your sailing flights in the sky. So Steve is gonna... He's still there. He got his time, and he's going back to the Sky Castle.
He's actually doing better on the black belt HP right now.
Yeah, he got his strong level up, which was not a guaranteed one. See, I know Nash is 27. Steve is probably around 25. It's possible he was 24, and that was his guaranteed level up. I'm pretty sure it's 24, but I'm not positive. It could be, because Mage just at 25.
I feel like for Nash, this is a pretty important factor, not even for the Chaos, but it's low enough where you're going to have concern. Like, obviously, if Flare comes out from Lich 2, that's a huge concern.
Yeah, so Lich's Flare can do about 325 to 350-ish damage. I personally don't like to fight Lich 2 under 350. I would be forcing fights to try to get some extra level ups, because once he hits 30, he'll have a guaranteed strong level up. But Nash's time is also really good right now, so he's probably just trying, hey, maybe I can PB this run.
These green dragons are pretty high on the scale, but he's only got the one Saga.
Well, a Thundaga...
that damage was good enough, that would probably one-shot him.
You can two-shot them with Thundaga, but the one Blizzaga can do it by itself.
This is also another room with an important pickup. It's going to be our last treasure pickup of the run, and it's another complete heal.
Yep, the Death Eye here is not that big of a threat also in this version. They made the eyeballs quite the joke. I mean, the Death Eye can crit your mages and one-shot them, and he actually has a very high crit chance, but that's about all the threat he is. It's just, if he melees you, it'll hurt. So the chest on the right there is an elixir, and the chest on the left is a dry ether. If you're using a white mage, you'll want to pick up that dry ether to be able to spam heals on the chaos fight.
And you're saying that because it's a complete heal of the MP.
Yes, dry ether will fill up all of your spell charges. So if you're like playing casually and you're using a white mage, you can just spam heal Aga like the whole fight, and just throw a dry ether here and there, and the fight is a lot safer. Because you don't really have to...
shield drop. They're dropping a lot today.
Yep. But yeah, I'm glad to see Nash is trying to actually take some of these fights, because his monk needs that HP. His black mage is... he's on something else. I thought my black mage had a lot of HP last night. Now this black mage has been beat.
Oh, it did, but then just wait till we get to Chaos and that HP pool won't be quite as big anymore.
Yeah, Chaos doesn't care how much HP you have. I mean, the difference of having 340 or 200 is a big deal, though.
Yeah, it's moved in the right direction where now this black belt's going to survive a lot more spells. And that's a big difference on the Fiendry fights.
Yes, and every level that your characters gain, they also gain magic defense, which helps them take less damage. In this version of the game, black mages have higher magic defense than the black belts. And you'll see when they get hit by spells, they'll take less damage than the monk does. Now, their HP is generally a whole lot less, so they get hurt more by the spells. But yeah, looks like Nash might be going for level 30.
And so many encounters here are really good experience, like
yes.
the Frost Dragons.
The
Frost Dragons aren't bad, but they tend to spam a lot of kind of the running theme with the dragons.
Oh yes, most of the dragons will try and murder you. That's what they do.
But the junior level are pretty good. good.
Chimera and Purple Worm are two of the highest XP monsters in the game, right up there with the Gas Dragons, or Green Dragons they're called. They're a good chunk higher than most other enemies.
Even those golems would not be bad, except for the fact that they like to resist the elements. So if we had Flare, it would do wonderful things in that fight.
Yes, Flare would one-shot them. Or if you had a melee party, you could take them out very fast. So we have to hope for no Flare for Nash.
Unfortunately, did a flee that first turn.
Yeah, I do that
Lost
sometimes.
turn. That's not a deal breaker.
That's pressing the wrong button. Instead of pressing confirm, you press auto battle.
Yeah, even whenever you're menued on the auto battle, will bring you back to whatever you did the last turn.
Unless you cancel out your selection. Once you hit the cancel button once, then it defaults to attack.
A friendly Lich too, so far. And there we go, Nash has passed it.
Yep, Lich was very kind. Generally, if I'm fighting Lich too, and he hits my monk even with a melee attack, I will throw a potion on him right away. If his HP is low enough to die to Flare, because you never know. You never know.
Meanwhile, Steve on the Bridge of Destiny, as it's affectionately known. Will we get Mormec, or are we going all the way to Tiamat?
Yeah, it's not common to see Warlock, but you can always hope. Okay, you always hope unless you're the one in the run.
Exactly.
Because being Warmech in your run can be quite scary. Luckily, there's autosave. If there was no autosave, oh boy, that changes things. Because if you died there and had to restart the whole dungeon, that puts you back like 10 minutes. That's what we get to deal with on the NES. Luckily, you shouldn't fight Warmech at all, unless you're planning on it, on the NES. Or you get offset route.
I got spoiled my first casual playthrough. There it goes right at the end of the bridge, like one step before the door, and I thought, oh, they put him on a boss tile for us.
They actually have the encounters set up on the NES, so it's actually quite easy to run into him. If you're just running through grabbing most of the treasure, ooh, that's bad for Steve.
Yeah, that didn't go so good. Well, Nash got through Marilyn pretty easily.
Merilith 2 usually doesn't kill you, but if she punches your monk, that changes the fight real fast.
340 looking pretty respectable for that monk HP now.
It's okay, it's still a little low. It's really scary for Kraken. No. If you are under 400, you are going to die to his punch. You really want your monk to have 400 plus HP to survive. Now he just hit level 30, and that's the strong level up I was talking about, for the guaranteed one. So that puts him in a lot better space for survival. He's still probably going to die to one punch, don't get me wrong. But it can help out for Tiamat and for Chaos.
Tiamat 1 being a big jerk for Steve right now. And that can definitely happen when the AoEs start flying.
Yeah, Tiamat 1 can be difficult to learn sometimes. A lot of times you have to give up on your buffs early. And just heal every round. Because Tiamat's AoE spells do over 100 damage apiece, and you can die in 3 rounds. So after the first round, just start healing. Throw out those high potions. And especially because his monk doesn't have a ribbon on it. That looks to be the issue. He
Yeah,
just took
300
200.
damage. He just can't keep up with that.
Yeah. And what was it? It wasn't Steve who did this in the hype rates. It was his opponent that forgot the ribbon on the same fight. I remember that.
So whenever I find that I've done something like that, I'll usually go back to my notes, and then I'll put it in bold to remind me to never do
Yep.
that again.
I mean, it's an easy mistake here because you just revived the black belt, and he had no gear on the whole game. So it's quite easy to forget. But hopefully he'll notice soon that his monk is dying too fast, and checks his inventory to see what he has equipped. Hopefully that'll happen. And looks like Nash
you
went
down
through.
on Nash's side.
Oh, he sold a ribbon? I definitely didn't see that, but it's something you can do.
Well, in that situation, you're gonna just have to sacrifice it on one of the black mages.
Oh yes, the monk is far more important than one of the mages. If the mages die in one spell, that's a sacrifice you have to make. Oh, that was a hype raise. Okay.
Yeah, because you should have the third ribbon now.
Yes. 3 ribbons is what you need to make it past anything, really.
As a runner, it's easy to get caught up in the moment. Just not thinking things through like that. You're just thinking, oh, come on, this RNG, just let me buy.
Yep, and it's also easy for new runners to make a mistake and not know how to recover from it. That's one of the things of just the repetition of running through it and encountering it. Until you've encountered a problem, you can struggle to figure out how to fix it. That's the biggest thing, is learning.
It's difference when you watch something like this back, you know to watch for it in the future.
Yes, learning how to adapt to all of the madness in this game is a big deal. Because so many different things can happen. Every run will be somewhat different.
But really, all he needs here is Tia to just do some melee turns.
Oh yeah, and she can melee.
I mean, you're only talking about needing 3-4 turns on that fight. So not that ambiguous. There we go. Steve's got it now.
That should fix things. Yeah, looks like he forgot to swap his equipment.
Yeah, he had to put the
Before-
diamond bracelet on either, so it gets that moved over as well.
Yeah, that should be much easier now.
Meanwhile, we're gonna pull Chaos at sub 2 hours, but apparently Nash's timer stopped.
Yeah, he split on Tiamat. He probably split twice, or maybe only has one split for the race. He figured it out now, and we're back.
Alright, so a whole lot of prep work going in here. We're getting the giant stunix for HP up, doing the gloves for the sabers. We're dying and starting this over again because that went wrong.
That will happen. Chaos will be chaos. If you don't have strong level ups on your monk, he can just get taken out. So you just want to die as quick as possible? Try again.
Yeah, and buffering happens too sometimes. So yeah, fell back to the autosave. Importantly, though, there's encounters on this floor, and you're probably going to get one.
Yes, you are always going to get one encounter on this floor.
Oh boy, it's that one.
You have too many steps to take before chaos. This fight is actually worth good XP.
It's just terrible if they get the jump on you.
Oh yes. I'm not positive if trance is blocked by the ribbon in this version. I think it is. I think it's considered status elemental attacks now, but I'm not positive. yeah.
Steve's still not getting the RNG on this Tia fight, though.
Yeah, he's gonna have to start throwing out high potions. Instead of trying the buff on round 2, he needs to try to heal. That's what happens sometimes when your black belt has low HP. He's probably used to one having a lot more hit points to be able to survive. But I'm sure he'll realize the error in that at some point. And maybe Tiamat can also just be lucky or nice and punch somebody.
Okay,
That
Nash
helps
has got
a bit.
some setup turns. Rip that black mage, who unfortunately was the one who was gonna heal, but still okay here.
Having 400 HP, you can survive. Unless it's a punch from Chaos. Chaos's melee attacks generally do like 400 to 430-ish damage.
And doubled there because it was hasted.
Yeah. Haste,
Oh, couldn't get the front row, but survived! That's perfect.
that's a good use of the X potion. As long as he
Alright,
doesn't,
we're all in.
just can't get meleeed on the monk.
So again, Chaos here has 20,000 HP, so we do a lot of preparation to be able to deal enough damage.
In an ideal situation, you will get yourself up to 32 hits.
So we're at 2,500 because that cure did take everything out.
Yeah, Kiraja does not full heal Chaos. It actually only heals 9,900. So if you knock him down to 1 HP, you'd only have to take out 10,000, which is kind of nice. It's not a full heal. And Steve beat Tiamat this time.
Nice. Oh, big hit from Chaos. This is stuff you need turn order. I didn't get it.
Yep, that will happen.
The Chaos in this version is just so fast. It's hard to get turn order on him.
Yes, I mean, you only get turn order on him when you don't want it. Like when you have a white mage healing while everybody's full. It's like, oh, thanks. I didn't need that. But yeah, this is what people call the casino. Chaos can really screw things up. In early routes of this, everybody was using a white mage because that was just the safest way to get past Chaos. And as we were slowly knocking the time down, people decided we needed to start playing it riskier and get rid of the white mage. But let me tell you, it was great having a white mage.
Nash tried to use the high potions to help these black mages recover. I don't think it's worth it. I get the idea of maybe sometimes it'll work out, and it'll get you those turns when it does, but it's just, they're gonna survive so little.
Reviving on Chaos is quite the gamble. I've seen people do it to try to get hastes up. I don't think it's worth it. I would rather have just max out the monk's attack. Even if you only have 16 swings, you can still kill Chaos in like 7 to 8 good attacks.
And that was a perfect illustration where one blaze comes out and it knocks off your black mage that you had tried to save.
Yes. Chaos has a lot of AoE, not as much as Tiamat, because he has a lot of other single target things he can do, like he's a lot more likely to physically attack. Chaos has a 40% chance to melee. That's actually the most common thing for him to do. Which means 1 out of every 5 turns, he's like punching your fighter.
Steve into the volcano, final fiend to be dealt with there, as Nash is on the final boss, trying to make things happen here.
Just need a little bit of luck on Chaos. And sometimes I see people get into streaks of chaos doing the same thing every time you fight. When that happens, you need to just mess with your RNG a little bit. Because sometimes chaos will open up by like punching your monk, and you reset and does it again and again and again. When things like that happen, you want to try and force another encounter, just waste some time like not mashing the A button to talk to things as quickly as possible after you load, so that you have different RNG. Because as far as we all know, it's frame-based in this game. And if you just keep starting every fight on the same frame, you can get the same RNG in battle.
Chat was digging the chains up battle last night.
I actually did 2 wiggles. The first one, I only moved over 1 time. And then the last one was a little frustration. I was like, I'm gonna force an encounter. Then I was like, no, this is probably good enough. And that's when I had my victory. It just moves the RNG far enough along.
Alright, I wouldn't heal here. I'm just hoping the turnover works out next time.
And my opinion with buffing in this fight is that speed drinks are more important than tempers. I say that because you want your monk to actually hit the maximum number of times. You don't want him punching 20 times.
That's a big hit.
Yep. The 32 wings.
One more hit. Blizzagra's the right thing. GG.
Here we go. The 32 hits is a big deal. I see some people forget to like utilize their speed drinks. And if you have your monk punching 20 times, you are really nerfing into the power that he can do. And Steve just took out Merilith.
Nash earned every bit of that one. Chaos made you work for it.
He generally does.
Try.
Oh yeah, I'll focus on the Steve now. He gets to do his final dungeon. I believe he did enough shopping, but he's probably going to do one final shop just to be safe. No? Okay. Sometimes people will take the extra shopping trips.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's going to depend on how much you bought the last time and how much you got left. I mean, if you have 50 ethers, you're probably not too worried about buying more.
Yeah. I usually do my last shopping right after Sea Shrine. At that point, you have plenty of money, max out on everything, and you're generally going to be fine for the whole rest of the game, unless you're doing crazy amounts of ethers for some weird reason.
So once again, with the Chaos Shrine dive, a lot of enemies to get through here.
And the fights can be painful. Especially when you just finished a boss fight, and your actions were not what you planned on for auto rank.
And we have Nash with us. A well-earned GG to you.
Hello.
Welcome in, and GG on your run.
Thank you, thank you. That was one crazy run.
You had quite the early game there.
That was, how do you like the warrior?
I actually was saying that I liked him being dead. It was good.
Yeah, feels good, right?
Unless you meant the warrior by the black mage who had more HP than the warrior.
Oh my god, that was so good! I've never seen that like happen before. I've never had a black mage be an actual Chad like that.
Yeah, it happens, but it's rare.
Yeah. I was in a call with Steve.
Right? The 2x potions dropped as well, right?
Yeah, me and Steve both got an X potion drop. It's crazy. I seriously contemplated to like not pick up the dragon caves, but I was like, you know what? Like I'm just gonna pick like it's a tournament, safety over time here. But yeah, we both got an X potion drop. It was insane. The only thing missing was Mormec.
I mean, Warmech's gonna be missing most of the time. It'll probably happen once during the tournaments, if we're lucky. I think odds are we would get it, because there's a lot of people and a lot of races, so we'll probably see one Warmech.
Oh yeah, we already got it during the hype race as well.
Yeah, that was a good way to start things off.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So I noticed you were getting your black belt up to level 30, so you actually had some HP there for the end game.
Yeah.
What level do you normally level up your team to?
It really depends on like the HP values. So like on a previous route, I PB'd at level 26. So I feel like I over leveled, but because of it wasn't necessarily the monk like on its own. It was also the black mage being very low HP. Like as soon as I saw like getting a black mage above 250 means he survives like a tsunami or a cyclone by chaos.
Yeah, those. It hurts if you die to one of those.
Yeah, if you instantly die to one of those from full HP, it limits your options for safety so much. So like I probably would have like gone into it with like level 28, 27 if I were running this for like a PB run.
Yeah, I'd say my average is 27 myself.
Yeah. But I'm also higher level because of the warrior strat that I employ, like early game.
That helps a little. Late game, that amount of XP actually kind of fades from noticeability.
Yeah, it's mostly like getting to 15 as early as possible in Earth Cave is kind of what I want to go for. And I feel like I can beat Ostals with 3 characters relatively consistently. If he's gonna bully me, he's gonna bully the entire party anyway.
Yes, exactly. That will happen. Just like Lich, if he decides you're gonna die, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
You can't stop the Blizzara spam.
Nope. No, you definitely can't. Not in this game.
And this is the only version when he can actually spam it, so he'll take advantage of it.
He definitely does. I was in a call with Steve, so I'm decently aware of his run. He had some very poor luck on Tiamat there. That was crazy.
It was pretty poor luck, but he also forgot to equip his monk.
He forgot to equip the ribbon on the monk. Oh.
Yeah. That was a big part of it. He's fighting
300 damage from poison is a big deal.
Yes.
Yeah. I wonder how he forgets it. So how I do the menu is like I also revive him like a floor earlier just for the chance for me to actually fight Warmech. But I equip the silver armlet on the second black mage, and then I optimize the warrior, which also immediately equips the ribbon. Like I wonder how he tackles the menu then.
He forgot to even move the diamond on, so he didn't touch the monk.
Oh.
So I'm guessing he just forgot to equip it.
Yeah.
Probably just nerves of making it through everything. I mean, sometimes you forget the menu.
Yeah, and he's pretty new to the run as well, but he's been steaming ahead with his times, and he's like running off of Shigeru's notes as well, so he's playing it way riskier than I do. Like even now, like I can see
a difference between full run notes and race notes that not everyone will necessarily do. My race notes are generally all going to fit on one screen. I want to be able to see everything right there. They're just the important reminders.
Yeah, I just have my mouse at the ready, like very close to my controller to just scroll over my guide notes, basically. And my guide notes are very easy to pick up, and as soon as I see a page, I know exactly what I have to do at that point. So that's kind of how I tackle that. But I really like the idea of just having race notes for like things that I forget. I might actually try and make those as well.
Yeah, I'm one of those weirdos that doesn't use notes.
I only run 14 without notes.
I mean, I should clarify that. I don't use notes on like Final Fantasy 1. If I'm playing a different game, I'll make very minor amount of notes. I've just played this game a little bit. I guess have enough memorized.
Yeah, you've just routed every single step of the game multiple times for different challenge runs. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that point, like, who needs notes anymore, right? Like, you know exactly what each step can do.
Well, Steve made it past Merilith, even though he played it real risky. He didn't heal before fighting.
I basically told him after that terrible Tiamat luck, like, he's gonna go through, like, this entire dungeon with flying colors, and I'll see him in 10 minutes, which was, like, at, like, the 17 mark, so he's gotta hurry up, like,
I mean, he could still first try Chaos.
That would be something you could brag about.
Yeah, I think his PB is a 222 or 224. So, like, he's still, like, very much on a PB run here, which is, like, automatically just a good thing to be on when you're racing.
Yes, that's always nice to see.
Yep.
Still gotta get through Kraken and Tia first.
Mm-hmm.
His monk has acceptable hit points.
Yep. His black mages, though.
Yeah, the black mage is not so much.
Yeah.
Personally, I like having a monk with good HP more than a black mage.
Really?
Yes. I've always felt like it's easier to finish a run with the monk with good HP compared to the black mages.
Interesting.
That's my opinion on it, and I've always had greater success with just a monk who has hit points.
Slight irony of this fight for Steve is that's actually exactly where Kraken 2 would be in other versions.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I get to fights with...
Oh, 4 hard potions left! Oh no.
I think he has regular potions still, unless he sold them all.
I think he sells them. Yeah.
Oh, I think he did. Yep. That's why he wasn't
There's an... This is actually a case where you might have picked up the backup heal just to be able to get the monk up, but I think it's too far back from here.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought he would have picked up the. He would have done an extra shop at Cornelia. Like, as soon as I know that I'm low on high potions, like, I just take the time loss. Like, it wastes about 40 seconds, but it's just so much better to go into this dungeon having enough high potions and ether in the bank so that you know you can make it to the end. Being low on high potions here is just...
He's going to try and do this without using the high potions till after. I don't hate that.
Yeah.
No, he's just going to have to hope that Kraken punches the statue and spams him.
Oh, yeah, basically that. Like, no damage. Yeah, he's playing super risky strats on his end, but he was already low on items when he did his last shop, so I definitely thought that he would have gone for, like, better. Oh boy.
That's also that's part of what happens also when you're routing off of, like, a world record time. You're gonna be doing things a lot riskier, which can come to bite you in the butt later on.
Okay, I think he's through this one.
Yeah, but he doesn't have enough HP to go, like, into chaos like this, or even Tiamat. He has 2 high potions and that's it. I would have personally reset this.
He has more, but it's only like 8.
Oh, he has 8 now?
He reset, so he went back to before he used the high potions.
Oh.
It could be enough to
Nope,
survive.
you're right, it is 2.
Oh, it's 2. Yeah.
And he didn't pick up the safe strategies for the extra X potion either, so he can't even do that.
He didn't actually pick up the dragon caves, did he? Because he has 1 X potion and 1 elixir.
Yep, so he didn't go to Cardia Isles at all.
I mean, I think the only thing you could do now is go back to the fire floor. But not everyone's even going to know that one is.
He's not gonna know that because he, like you said, like he bases his notes off of the world record run. So he knows like that particular route, and that particular route doesn't go that way, so he won't know it.
Yeah, it's gonna be quite difficult for him to pass by here. He's gonna have to get really lucky.
Yeah,
You know what?
this
Just let's focus on getting through this Tiamat and taking that win.
yeah.
Like, it's possible that she just punches the statue over and over again, but
Yeah. Yeah, there's the one try. The one hit.
there's not a whole lot of options he has right now.
No, he's basically like he has to get perfect fights from now on. Because of the lack of heals, because he's gonna go like if he gets one spell here, he's gonna go into chaos with 2 black mages on 1 HP.
Yeah, and even if he didn't, they're not going to be able to survive one spell.
Yeah, at this point they won't, so it doesn't actually matter if they die or not. That is very weird. It's very awkward. He also has haste on both the black mages as well. That's an interesting choice.
He did not buy haste until later on in the run, once he got his airship, so he was able to afford buying 2 haste spells.
Yeah. I tend to use...
Some runners like to do that. It's actually relatively common. If people don't buy it at the early game, you just buy 2 copies of it later on. So that if your haste mage dies, you at least have backup.
Yeah, I try not to use the cottage that I pick up in order to like always have enough money to actually pick up haste, so I don't have to go back to Alfheim for like a third time.
I bare bones my runs, so I always use the cottage.
It's an interesting way, to like, there's so many routing options with Pixel Remaster due to the, due to the volatile nature of the game. Like you can definitely route in a lot of safeties and be faster than a risky strat like 99% of the time, and like the one run will actually work for you.
Just let's see this Tia go down.
Yeah.
He can do it.
Tiamat 1 was already a bully, and now Tiamat 2 is doing the exact same thing for him.
There we go. Chat, let's get some GGs for that Tia.
Oh, good stuff.
Alright, he can beat Chaos, but it's going to be tough. I think he has 1 high potion left to heal the monk. Oh no, he used both of them. But he still could do it. It's just gonna take some real good luck.
Yeah.
Like Chaos is gonna have to be real nice.
He takes the 1 stab at it, because why not? You're here.
That is... He might reset, like due to just getting the 63 damage there on the monk.
Yeah, he did. You can actually quit to title screen from there, would be fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chaos is gonna be extra difficult for him. He pretty much has to... Chaos has to punch the statue quite a few times, or spam slow run on the statue / black mages.
Yeah.
Now, for tournament purposes, runners are not required to see this all the way through when someone has won, but that doesn't mean you don't want to do it.
No, Steve is definitely not one to give up easily, so he's definitely gonna give it a try and see if he can get there. Like he just needs to get like first try chaos, and then he's good.
Have the best chaos in the world.
Yep.
Just needs to keep getting an RNG melee loop against that fighter.
Yep.
Yeah. Pretend it's the NES. get into an RNG loop.
Oh man. It's been fun. I've been in the call with FFSteve for the entire run, and we've been mostly just like memeing about the game for like a good 2 hours. It's always fun to do that. Just have a race with someone and just like be in a call together and go. You both like survive certain things. Like at moment Steve got the X potion, I was just baiting Sabertooth to go like, come on, like you did it for Steve, do it for me.
Wow, Chaos opens with Flare.
At least it's a quick death.
Yeah.
I would much rather have a quick death than fully buff and be 2 hits away from killing Chaos.
Oh, I was so sad after that second try. I was so sad. It was like suffering to get into a good amount of damage. I got to 2,500, and I was like, I might as well go for it here. I have enough heals to try it. And then like I got 4 hits in, and I Kirajat, so it was back to 0. Then I tried buffing again, and I just like died to a hit plus. Was it Hurricane? It was just like done.
Yeah, Tornado or
yeah,
whatever it's called in this version.
Yeah.
All right, there was the first turn. He lays statue.
Good stuff. Okay. Oh, he should have hasted. He should have hasted on one of his mages there. Like you need the haste. There we go.
And
Okay.
Flare again. Which is not this common, by the way. That's just Chaos being a jerk.
Yeah.
I believe his chance to flare is either 2 or 5%, somewhere in there. I don't remember. I haven't looked at that list in a long time.
Let me check real quick. I have it in my notes, I think, somewhere. He has 5% chance in this particular version.
That's what I was thinking. Earthquake is like 2%. Earthquake is what you really want to see.
Yeah,
but
Earthquake and
that's not
Kiraja are 2% here. So basically, like Slowra, Earthquake, and an attack on like the Warrior are basically like the best spells you could do. Which honestly, like attack is 40%. So he has about 52% chance every turn to cast something that isn't terrible. Which, like, relatively speaking, for like how much trouble people have with Chaos, like that doesn't make any sense.
Well, it does when you think that you have to survive like 10+ rounds against Chaos. And the first like 3 turns are crucial.
Yeah.
Because if he uses 2 AoE spells that aren't necessarily a run ender by themselves, paired up, they can wipe your whole team.
Yep. I try to play around like the 160 HP mark. Like if my mages are in decent health, I try to just utilize high potions, just to give myself a few more rounds and just see if I can get it to work. Or I have the low HP mage try to throw a high potion on the high HP mage, in order to just have them stick around for a little bit. Because I feel like I don't get enough strength or attack ups. Like I have 3 speed potions that I use currently, and I kind of feel like they're underwhelming for me.
I think speed rings are like the best buff you can do.
Yeah, that's what I have in my notes. Like just use the 3 speed rings because you'll get there. But it's a weird one for me.
Speed rings increase your number of swings by 4 when you're fast, and a month. Like, that's the difference of you, like, using a couple speed rings on yourself. You can hit Chaos for 6,000-7,000 compared to doing 2,000-3,000 without the speed rings. Like,
all right, that one probably stung the most because Steve got a lot of buffs in before that came out.
Yeah, that's he got the setup, like he got to a decent setup where he could just try and Giant Gloves his way to a finish, but no. Yeah, like the speed rings are like something that I want to use. Like I always pick up 3 just for that particular reason.
I know some people really don't worry about their speed rings. They use them last after all of your tempers and everything. Like,
yeah,
I like to use them right away. As soon as I have Giant Tonics and haste up, I throw those speed rings.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the same boat as you. Like, I feel like if I... Like, because speed drinks are fast turns anyway, using my mages for that, and then using... Just keeping the monk on the giant gloves is...
Glove, yep.
Yeah, it just feels like a good combination.
Giant's Glove is more powerful of an attack boost than Temper anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
And so as long as you get the speed drinks up, you can make the monk just do a couple extra sabers, and it's fine.
Yeah.
So we'll see how many attempts Steve wants to try here.
Yeah,
It's
he's
gonna be
on...
frustrating.
Yeah. He's definitely... If he brings us home, it'll be an achievement in its own right. Oh, Flare. Yep. That's Chaos definitely not being a good friend here.
He's had a lot of
This many
flares.
flares, period.
This is what I was talking about earlier with, based on how quickly you can initiate the fight, you can end up with like the same RNG strings.
Yeah.
Since it's frame based, that's why sometimes wasting some time before you initiate the battle isn't a bad thing. I mean, like, you already wasted the whole one and done chaos kill.
Yeah.
So, waste a little bit of time to try different things, go for it.
Yeah, it's the chaos is like my notes specifically tell me to like, hey, you want to get your monk up to max HP as fast as you can, but try like be variable, like be very moldable in this particular fight.
Yes,
because like anything can happen.
Yeah, you can have a mage go down at the very start of the fight and still finish the fight just fine.
Oh yeah, yeah, like a mage dying is not bad.
He's on a perfect start right here.
Yeah. Come on. Actually getting stuff done.
See,
He didn't use...
Yeah, no speed drinks.
Nope, no speed drinks from him.
Not enough sabers yet to really do the big numbers.
I'm really surprised he didn't go for the caves and pick up those extra like items. There's such like for you having an extra X potion and elixir. Like going from 1 normally up to 3 like full heals makes this fight so much safer. Like you can comfortably saber up to like 7 or 8 times and not worry about dying. And like here is where he needed one. So we're gonna see it.
Really needs Chaos to melee next turn.
Yeah.
Not that way, Chaos.
Oh.
Well, you see,
He still needed 2 more turns of damage, so
yeah.
You had to say it, huh?
he needed the miss.
You
Chaos
had
isn't
to say
gonna
you
miss.
had to melee.
Chaos doesn't miss.
No.
Even if you max your evasion, he's still hit.
He only misses statues. And
He
that's
doesn't want to hurt his hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another thing in this version is you can't tease your way through the fight with increasing your evasion.
We've tried.
That's something we do on the NES, but in later versions of the game you have to increase your absorption if you want to try to choose out melee attack. You can get your absorb up to 255, which really blunts his melee attacks.
Yeah, that's...
But it takes a long time to set that up.
Yeah, and it's also usually not... Like, depending on what type of strategy you're running, it's usually not worth going for those types of strats. Like,
I
unless
like
you...
to do it if I have like 2 red wizards and like a white wizard.
Yeah.
Then you can triple Protectora each round, and after like a few rounds, his melee attacks, even with haste, do.
Yeah, like if you're in that situation, like just like protect trying, that means that at that point you're only gonna be dealing with just spells, and like if you have a white mage on party, you can just spam heals on that one, and you're really safe on the fight.
Yep.
And you can do whatever you want.
Without giant tonics,
Yep.
you can still survive everything except for a double flare. And that's what makes it like real safe. And if you throw a couple giant tonics in there, you can even survive a double flare.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very interesting way to play around. I'd love to do like more challenge runs of this.
Oh, yeah,
I've done like all black mages, and it was very interesting and very fun to play around.
I did a few challenge runs. Recently, I did 4 knights, 4 ninjas, 4 white mages, and I also did a solo red wizard.
Solo
They were
Red Wizard
all
sounds interesting.
The solo run was the most difficult because I didn't get a single strong HP level up like the whole time. So it made the early game very, very frustrating.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
once I made it past that, it was easy. Chaos just being himself here.
Kale's just being a bully here. But there's also the thing, like, in any normal situation where you have, like, a few high potions to spare, like, at this point in time, like, a tsunami will be bad.
Yeah, you almost never want to see Tsunami unless you have 999 HP and you're, like, doing okay.
Yeah, tsunami would be bad, but wouldn't necessarily be lethal yet. But in this particular situation, because of how his HP values are, they're just gonna be in trouble. Like that. It's
And Tsunami and Tornado are non-elemental, so the ribbon does not help you resist them at all.
yeah,
So
which is why they
They always chunk you hard.
yeah.
Those two and Flare. They're some of the worst things you can see. That and punching your monk.
Well, we do hope to see this go right for Steve, but for as long as he wants to go after it, there is his channel link in the chat now, so please click on that, and for Nash. Give both follows. Because
Yeah,
we always
Steve-
want to support the runners.
Yeah, Steve has been going at this, like I said, like he's very new to the game, but he's been having a lot of fun and just learning a route. And he's the type of runner who definitely will bash his head against a run for quite a while. But he stated that like in like the current runs he's been doing, like his sum of best is like a 144, 143 at this point, which is kind of crazy to consider. Being like a runner that's only been at the game for like a month. Like, that is pretty good.
I don't think I've ever even looked at my sum of best. That seems a little too scary to look at.
I just destroyed my sum of best. Like you guys probably noticed that my splits were just being wonky at some point, and like I finished the run like at Tiamat. So now my sum of best is just like gone.
Yeah, that's why you just don't save when things like that happen.
Yeah.
This run never happened. You can't prove it. Besides video evidence.
Yeah. The sad part is that it immediately saved it. So I'm just looking at this going, like, yeah, well that's, well let me just delete all my gold splits here. Like it's fine. It's fine. I'll just have shiny golds for next run. We'll just do that.
Just clear your history and everything will look good while you're in the tournament.
Yeah, that's actually what I did, but that's mostly due to the fact that I'm just running an entire new route for the tournament. Because I played a very like low item, low gil route, and low fight route for like the first time that I went at this game, and my new route like I let the warrior die, which is kind of awkward, saying that I'm playing safer, but it does feel like I'm a lot more comfortable with this. My characters die less during the early game, which is just good. And just seeing them pass on and just like get to Earth Cave relatively safe. Like the only thing that I need is like a good early game, and I can save 4 minutes there. And then I can just like take that along, and like if I'm technically better, like my new route is good for a sub 50, whilst my old route probably would have been like that would have been the limit. So just learning new parts about FF1 is a way to just self-improve as well, just try new things.
Yeah, there's a lot to the game, and you have to adapt to so many things in each run. Because every run ends up being different somehow.
Well,
what
we're
enemies
gonna
do
have
you...
to start putting a bow on things to free up the Speed Gaming channel for other events that are going on tonight. But Nash, do you have any final thoughts you want to get in on this one?
Get going. Like I love this run. It's an incredibly fun like speed game to learn when you want to get into RPGs. I said so during the hype race as well, but like Pixel Remaster FF1 is an incredibly good basis to just start your RPG journey. And I really wish that FFSteve can finish this run because it will be a god finish. But I can't wait to see what the rest of the tourney has to offer. I cursed one of the best runners of the game yesterday, and I got a 17th try chaos for it. So it was it's good times. This game is it can give you lemons, and it can give you the best lemonade you can ever have. It's amazing.
Shanesel, any final thoughts?
No, just good luck to all the runners that are gonna have some more runs, and let's see some good turnouts to these and some more close races. I mean, this one started off very close, and they usually do.
Well, as Steve is still at it, everyone is invited to click on the link to his channel to be able to see the rest of the run. I think this is personal now, but we wish him the best in finishing this out.
Like I said, like Steve is the type of guy that definitely wants to like go for it. Like he's not gonna give up on this yet. Like he's definitely not gonna give up on this run before like the 3:30 mark. If if I understand a little bit more about him over the last 2 hours that we were in chat together. So
right,
yeah, go to his channel if you want to see it finish. And thanks for hosting us as well. I can't wait to hear the commentary.
Thank you, Speed Gaming, for hosting races in this tournament, and please follow the Speed Gaming family of channels because there'll be plenty more ahead as the weeks go on and we are in group play. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us this afternoon. Please have a great rest of your day.